Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about horror and comedy. Two sides of the same coin? Maybe. One makes you scream, the other makes you laugh. But put them together, and something magical happens. You get horror comedy, a genre that's both thrilling and hilarious. It's a delicate dance, balancing scares with laughs. But when it's done right, it's a thing of beauty. The roots of horror comedy are deep, going back to the early days of cinema. Think about it. Even the earliest horror movies had an element of the absurd, the over-the-top acting, the cheesy special effects. It was all part of the fun. But horror comedy really started to find its feet in the 1920s and 30s. Movies like The Cat and the Canary from 1927 and The Old Dark House from 1932 brought a playful sensibility to the horror genre. They were spooky, sure, but they also had a sly wit that kept audiences entertained. These early films laid the groundwork for what was to come. They proved that you could scare and amuse audiences at the same time. And they set the stage for the golden age of horror comedy. The 1940s saw the rise of Abbott and Costello, a comedy duo who would become synonymous with horror comedy. Their films, like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein from 1948, brought together classic monsters like Frankenstein's monster Dracula and the Wolfman. However, they added a comedic twist, making these terrifying creatures the target of slapstick humor and witty banter. These films were a huge hit with audiences. They proved that horror comedy could be both commercially successful and critically acclaimed, and they helped to solidify the genre's place in Hollywood. The key was simple: don't take the scares too seriously. Another important figure in the development of horror comedy was William Castle. A master showman, Castle knew how to give audiences a good time. His films, like House on Haunted Hill and The Tingler from 1959, were full of gimmicks and special effects designed to make audiences jump and scream. But they were also infused with a sense of fun that made them impossible not to enjoy. These early horror comedies were often campy and over the top, but they were also genuinely funny and entertaining. They understood that sometimes the best way to deal with our fears is to laugh at them. What is it about horror comedy that we find so appealing? Maybe it's the thrill of being scared and then laughing at ourselves for being scared. Maybe it's the way that horror comedy allows us to confront our fears in a safe and controlled environment. Or maybe it's simply that a good laugh is the perfect antidote to a good scare. Whatever the reason, horror comedy has a unique ability to tap into our primal emotions. It allows us to experience the full spectrum of human emotion, from fear and anxiety to joy and laughter. And it does so in a way that is both entertaining and thought-provoking. Horror comedy also allows us to explore dark and taboo subjects in a way that is both humorous and insightful. By using humor to diffuse the tension, horror comedy can tackle serious issues like death, violence, and societal anxieties in a way that is both entertaining and thought-provoking. In many ways, horror comedy is a reflection of our own complex relationship with fear. It's a way for us to acknowledge our fears, to laugh at them, and ultimately to overcome them. As with any genre, horror comedy has gone through its share of transformations over the years. In the 1960s and 70s, films like Rosemary's Baby from 1968 and The Rocky Horror Picture Show from 1975 brought a new level of sophistication and subversion to the genre. They tackled complex themes like paranoia, sexuality, and social commentary, while still delivering the scares and laughs. The 1980s saw the rise of the slasher comedy, a subgenre that combined the blood and gore of slasher films with the humor of teen comedies. Films like Gremlins from 1984, Beetlejuice from 1988, and Ghostbusters from 1984 became instant classics, proving that horror comedy could be both scary and hilarious for audiences of all ages. These films were more than just scary movies with jokes thrown in. They were clever, self-aware, and often surprisingly touching. They understood that the best horror comedies are the ones that take their characters and their scares seriously, even when they're being funny. Section 5, The Masters of Macabre Mirth. No discussion of horror comedy would be complete without mentioning some of the genre's most important filmmakers. Directors like John Landis, Sam Raimi, and Peter Jackson brought a unique vision to the genre, creating films that were both terrifying and hilarious. Landis's An American Werewolf in London from 1981 perfectly blended body horror, dark humor, and genuine pathos. Raimi's Evil Dead 2 from 1987 was a blood-soaked splatterfest that was as funny as it was scary. And Jackson's early work, like Bad Taste from 1987 and Brain Dead from 1992, pushed the boundaries of good taste and special effects, creating films that were both repulsive and hilarious. These directors understood that horror and comedy are two sides of the same coin. They knew that the best way to make an audience laugh is to scare them first, and they weren't afraid to get their hands dirty literally in the process. Section 6, Shaun of the Dead, a modern classic. In more recent years, horror comedy has continued to evolve. Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead from 2004 paid homage to classic zombie films while also subverting them. It's a film that's both hilarious and heartwarming, even as it's ripping out your guts. Figuratively speaking, of course. Shaun of the Dead became a touchstone for the modern horror comedy, proving that you could make a film that was both scary and funny without sacrificing intelligence or heart. It's a film that's both a love letter to the zombie genre and a hilarious satire of modern life. Section 7, the genre-bending brilliance of Get Out. Then there's my own Get Out from 2017, a film that used horror tropes to explore themes of race and social injustice. It was a film that made you think as much as it made you jump. Get Out proved that horror comedy could be more than just entertainment. It could be a powerful tool for social commentary. The success of Get Out showed that audiences were ready for horror comedy that was both entertaining and thought-provoking. It also opened the door for a new wave of filmmakers who are using the genre to explore important social issues. Section 8, What We Do in the Shadows Mockumentary Mayhem. Let's not forget the hilarious mockumentary What We Do in the Shadows from 2014, directed by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. This film poked fun at vampire lore while also delivering genuinely funny characters and situations. It's a film that's both clever and silly, proving that horror comedy can be just plain fun. What We Do in the Shadows spawned both a successful TV series and a sequel. Shadows showed that the mockumentary format could be a perfect fit for horror comedy. It allowed for a level of absurdity and improvisation that wouldn't be possible in a traditional horror film. Section 9, Werewolves, Witches and Laughs. Oh my! And who could forget the recent success of films like The Witch from 2015, Ready or Not from 2019, and Werewolves Within from 2021. These films have shown that horror comedy is alive and well, and that there are still plenty of scares and laughs to be had. From creepy crawlers to supernatural beings, from haunted houses to possessed toys, horror comedy continues to find new ways to scare us and make us laugh. It's a genre that's constantly evolving, finding new ways to surprise and delight us. Section 10, the enduring allure of horror comedy. So why does horror comedy continue to resonate with audiences? Perhaps it's because it offers us a way to confront our fears and anxieties in a safe and cathartic way. Or maybe it's simply because a good laugh is the perfect antidote to a good scare. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: horror comedy is here to stay. It's a genre that's as versatile as it is entertaining, capable of delivering both chills and chuckles in equal measure. And as long as there are things that go bump in the night, there will be filmmakers who are willing to shine a light on them and make us laugh. Section 11, a genre poised for future frights and fun. As we look to the future of horror comedy, one thing is clear: the genre is ripe for innovation. With its ability to blend scares and laughs, to tackle serious issues with a light touch, and to constantly reinvent itself, horror comedy is poised to continue captivating audiences for years to come. So buckle up, horror fans. The future of horror comedy is looking bright, and it's going to be a wild ride. Expect the unexpected. Expect to be scared, and most importantly, expect to laugh until your sides hurt. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.